Do you remember that time Ash caught a Seaking? Well, he more like reeled it in, but it did happen and it's listed under his temporarily owned Pokemon section on Bulbapedia, so you know it's official. Almost 25 years ago on October 12, 2000 in Japan, Ash and Misty entered in a Seaking catching competition in which they both had to capture Gyarados. Just kidding, obviously it's Seaking. Well, if you're seeking some good Pokemon content, you can subscribe to this channel, but as for Ash and friends, let's take a look at this episode and recap the events of Pokemon episode 168, Hook, Line, and Stinker. The episode begins with shots that I love in the Pokemon series, and that's when the gang just has all of their Pokemon out and they're just chilling. Look, even Goldeen is here, and she never gets to appear. Poliwhirl is chilling while floating on his back when all of a sudden this angry looking Poliwhirl spawns out of nowhere. He doesn't look friendly and then all of a sudden he just whacks poor Poliwhirl on the back of the head. A Mega Punch later and Poliwhirl is knocked out. Andreas then comes out from the side and he's just a regular fisherman dude, but he's got an attitude.
Why did it attack my Poliwhirl?
I made a mistake. I didn't know it was a Poliwhirl. I thought it was a Poliwhip.
Okay, he's low-key got bars though. Andreas then says that Poliwhirl is weak because of the biggest trope in the Pokemon anime. If it was strong, then it would have been fully evolved. My guy Andreas must have not been watching the very show he's in. He points out Misty's other Pokemon as examples, and he's low-key cooking cause all of her Pokemon are not fully evolved at this point because Starmie's at the gym. Misty challenges him to a battle, but he says he's got plans for today so he can't, and that sets up our premise for today's episode. While walking down the path, the gang notices a bunch of fishermen walking around, and as Ash asks if they're going fishing, one guy says no. There's an annual Seeking catching competition around, but like, brother, how are you gonna reel them in? This guy explains the rules, saying that much like the bug catching contest, you're allowed to catch as many Pokemon as you want throughout the competition's time limit. But the one you're gonna be judged on must be caught in this special lake ball, and I love the design of it. The winner goes to the heaviest Seeking, and the winner gets a trophy and a year's supply of chocolate bars. Just don't show Snorlax. They're also only allowed to use one partner Pokemon to assist in catching the Seeking. Andreas then registers with his Poliwrath, and the crowd is hyping him up because he's won every single Seeking competition that he's been in, and he's been featured on TV. Misty then says she wants to enter to show him up, and for some reason Brock is not being a good friend, trying to convince her to not enter because he's too good. He's being not supportive whatsoever. Misty then registers with Poliwhirl as his partner, Ash with Pikachu as his partner, and Brock asks the registration lady to be his partner. Cut to the competition and Brock is going to be driving around Misty and Ash as they try to capture their Seeking. Pretty cool that he's driving around, as he would later be seen driving around the rocket car. Andreas pulls out to taunt Misty when Psyduck pops out of his Pokeball and almost drowns in the lake. Andreas drives away, and I love how nice Misty is, reassuring Psyduck that it's okay that he can't swim. Ash and Misty are ready to win with rods in hand as the competition is officially underway. Literally as soon as the competition starts, Andreas reels in a Seeking, commands Poliwrath to use Double Slap, and throws his lake ball to catch it. I like how Misty and Ash are looking at him with disgust, but Brock is just chilling. He's kinda smiling at him. I think Brock likes Andreas more than Misty and Ash in this episode. Although Andreas won't be holding this Seeking for too long, as he decides to release it and capture another one instead. We then cut to Team Rocket, who have entered in this competition to win the chocolate bars. Jessie makes a very alluring lure of herself to catch a Seeking. After a while, none of the Seeking are biting, so they instead opt for a live Meowth lure. I don't know, maybe someone should contact social services for this. Meowth spots a Seeking, but it runs away from him, and then he gets tangled in by someone's rod. At the same time, Team Rocket rod reels in something, so they're fighting over poor Meowth underwater. Jessie and Misty must have superpowers, as they are so strong that they reel each other in, dragging their boats with them, and Meowth is stuck underwater without his breathing device. Meowth scratches himself out of the tangled situation, and Ash spits a bar by saying,
I lost it.
Maybe it was just some kind of bottom feeder, like a catfish.
Yeah.
Andreas passes by and taunts Misty for being able to win the competition if it was a fishing rod competition, and seriously, who let this man cook? Misty uses her expert fishing knowledge to deduce that Seeking are gonna swim north due to the sudden wind change, and it looks like she's right because Andreas is driving his boat in that direction. Misty pushes Brock out of the way and takes control of the boat as she starts racing against Andreas. They are both beelining towards Team Rocket, who are just chilling on their boat when Andreas somehow jumps over them and splashes them into the water. And honestly, poor Team Rocket, they haven't done any shenanigans this episode, yet they're being treated as punching bags. Misty asks if they're okay, which was nice, but James doesn't want to get exposed, so he starts drowning Meowth. Literally. Actually, Meowth has gotten the worst of it this episode. Poor guy. They finally arrive at the fishing spot they wanted to go to, and Andreas is already there, but no fear because soon enough, Ash reels in a Seeking. He shocks with a Thunderbolt and then throws his lake ball and catches it. Now we just need Misty to get one. No time to celebrate because Andreas answers back with finding an even bigger Seeking, and after some beatings from Poliwrath, it's easy pickings for him to capture. We then get an announcement that there's only 10 minutes left, and Misty doesn't even have a Seeking left. This is where she gets the bright idea to use her super special Misty Lure number 4, and like Brock says, this doesn't look any different from number 3. She tosses it in the lake, and sure enough a Seeking bites into it. Poliwhirl goes to attack, but this Seeking is actually the first one to fight back, but our boy bounces right back and knocks it out with a double slap, which lets Misty capture it. After she captured it, there's an announcement that the competition is over, and those who didn't catch a Seeking are awarded a commemorative Seeking badge, and James is happy about it. I love it whenever they reference his badge or bottle cap hobby. They start weighing the Seeking, and Andreas' weighs 55 kilo. I guess kilo is the weight system used in the Pokemon world, even in the English dub. No freedom units here. Before declaring himself the winner, Misty rushes in and checks her Seeking, and it also happens to weigh exactly 55 kilo. What a coincidence. The tie gets solved the only logical way they could think of, in a one-on-one Pokemon battle with the partner Pokemon that they chose to use. The battle begins, and it's on top of a pretty cool water battlefield. Poliwrath goes on the offensive, but Misty's Poliwhirl does a fantastic job of dodging all of its attacks. Suddenly, the battle gets interrupted by some smoke bombs, and of course, it's none other than Jessie and James. Instead of stealing Pokemon like they usually do, this time they steal the chocolate. Andreas and Misty team up to take back the chocolate with a little bit of help of Ash and Bulbasaur. After the chocolate is secured, Pikachu shocks him and sends them on their way. Then, the battle resumes like nothing happened. Poliwrath goes for submission, and then Brock says that when Poliwhirl evolves, it is now able to use fighting type attacks. Lol, okay Brock. Poliwhirl is knocked out, he gets up and hides behind Misty, so I guess Andreas wins. Except of course not, the rest of Misty's Pokemon send themselves out of their Pokeball and give Poliwhirl a pep talk. After that, Poliwhirl gets fired up and just decimates Poliwrath, winning the match for Misty. Andreas took the loss really well and apologizes for his past behavior. With Misty's win, she gets all the chocolate, which she's gonna spread out between a bunch of people. This episode was pretty sweet, get it? I really like the self-contained events that happen in a single episode. Any episode with a competition, whether it be a Pokering or a contest or a league battle, will always get my vote, as those are my favorite things to watch. And this episode was no different. It was fun to see a one-episode rivalry with Misty and a Misty-focused episode overall. It was also nice to see Ash compete in this one and play a very nice supporting role. It's a shame that neither of them were able to keep the Seeking, but realistically it would have gotten the same treatment that Goldeen got, especially with its need to be in the water to function. The underlying message, which wasn't subtle at all, was that a Pokemon doesn't need to be fully evolved in order to be a strong Pokemon, which, now that I think about it, Ash took really to heart this season since most of his Johtomons weren't fully evolved by the league, except for Heracross who can't evolve, and Noctowl who was caught fully evolved. Overall, I rate this episode an 8 out of 10. It was a very fun episode to sit down and enjoy. They had a lot of good fishing and sweet puns too, so I'm always a sucker for those. I don't know, it just hits my sweet spot. For some fun facts about this episode, Andrea says that if Misty's Poliwhirl were strong, it could have evolved by now, but both of Poliwhirl's evolutions are by items, so that has nothing to do with it. And after the battle, Misty calls her Poliwhirl a Poliwrath. I guess she really wanted to evolve it already. But what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below. I've got a Seeking to catch, so I'm getting my Super Rod ready and getting my Lake Ball, and I'm out. Peace.